Okay, good afternoon. Hey there, beautiful lady. We are live now. Hey, so I'm going to actually start sharing with the groups so everybody can join in and chime in. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on this 6 o'clock edition. I had an 11 o'clock edition, but now I have a 6 o'clock edition of the People of Power with the one and only Yvette Miley. So I'm going to share real quick. And if people have any questions, concerns, feel free to try to chime in or talk to us. I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Sometimes it's hard because we want to talk. So again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I know I'm a stalker. One moment, let me just check. Hold on. Let me just get you. Okay. So all the groups are on right now, and I can see you have someone that says, "Hey, Auntie." Justin says, "Hey, Auntie," and you have some hearings. Cassandra is in there too. All right. So let me just turn my volume down so there's no feedback. So you might not be able to see them, but I'll let you know that they're waving. Cassandra says, "Hey, Auntie, you look beautiful."
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, so basically we want to do, I always call it an intro. I don't know if you're there. Can you hear me? Good?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Because it looked like it was a freeze frame, so I was just making sure, because I know technical issues happen, so we have to keep it rolling. I just want to make sure. So we'll get through them if we have them. I want to make sure that we get to know you as an individual. I want to also, before we start, because I don't want to forget, and then I feel so bad, I want to give a shout out to Jerome Hutchinson, because he was the one that actually helped me get to know who you are better. You are an inductee in the ACABA International Hall of Fame. And he said to me when I did his show, he basically said, as a moderator, he said, you're gonna interview the most powerful woman in TV. And I was like blown away. I started crying. I looked crazy, but he is just a big fan of yours. He admires your work. And I just have to give him a shout out, because I know he's probably going to be watching. And if it were not for him, I wouldn't vet you. And maybe later, but I would say at the time I wouldn't met.
Jerome is special, and what he does and the effort he does to bring people together, he is special. And Jerome hypes people. I am not the most powerful woman in broadcast, but to have him in my corner, that encouragement and that support, it means the world. Thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you for bringing us together.
Okay, and I just want to make sure, okay, I hear some, "Hey, Auntie." You have Julia Whitaker says, "Hi, sister." Tanya McKenzie says, "It's your favorite niece." LaShawn says, "Hey, Auntie." Lynn Whitfield says, "I remember that show, and look at you now." So yeah, I did my ugly cry. I don't think you saw the show, but I was up there crying like, Lord, I won the lottery, because it meant so much to me. Because before that, I had prayed that I meet someone that's actually in the industry that I'm looking to be in. And it's very hard, especially here in South Florida, to meet people and, who are just wonderful and who don't mind stepping to the side and saying, this is maybe what you need to do. So I just want to say I appreciate everybody who's been a blueprint. And you're one of those people. So I had to get my thank you out. That was your roses in the beginning of the show. So
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So I wouldn't forget.
You're fantastic. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. So I want to get some born and raised. I always like to do that, because I think when people see the title, VP, MSNBC, NBC, people just kind of go to that. But I always say that there are levels. It didn't happen overnight. You have over 20 years experience in the industry. I'm not going to age you, but you've been in it for a while. And basically, I always like to know the start, because that's what intrigues me. And I think that's what gives people a sense of hope that I can do it too, because it just wasn't given to that person. They had to work their way up to the top. So I wanted you to kind of give a brief introduction of, like I said, born and raised, where you're from, and first job, and then we'll go from there.
I am from Riviera Beach. I love Riviera Beach. I still call Riviera Beach home. Hi to the Riviera Beach family and to all those who helped make me who I am and shape me into who I am. And I have a really, really great, strong support structure. The family has always been there saying, do this, don't do that. Still live in Riviera Beach, and it will always be my forever home. And I was a little bit of I played a lot of sports, Wells Recreation Center, Tate, marched in the band, graduated from Suncoast High School. I know you were a graduate of Suncoast High School. I have a niece, Harmony, who is currently attending Suncoast High School. So Riviera Beach is in my blood. It's in my bones. It's who I am. I could not deny it, even if I tried. And I'm so grateful and thankful to be from a place where community means something. And I'm a part of that community. And I'm so proud to be a part of the Riviera Beach family. My family, the Whitakers, I would do something wrong on 9th Street, on 12th Street, and before I made it home, my mom already knew about it because someone had already told her. Not that I would do anything wrong, but yeah, I was a little mischievous. I absolutely will admit that. I would not have my first job. I did get a first job. I graduated from the University of Florida, and I thought once I had my college degree that everything would just fall into place. I was like, I'm me. Who wouldn't hire me? And I didn't get a job right out of college. It was like the world clearly was not ready for me. I did not get a job right out of college. The world was not ready for me. And I remember being in the car with my sister, Gloria Scott, who runs the youth program at the Salvation Army in Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach. I was in the car with Glo, we call her Glo, and we drove past the Palm Beach Post building on Belvedere. And she said, have you applied there? And I was like, no, I want to do television. I don't want to do print. And she said, you should apply. So I applied and I got a job at the Palm Beach Post. And my job, literally my job, was to answer the phone on Friday night when high school teams would call in the scores. So they would say Suncoast 49, North Shore 10. Of course, I had to have Suncoast win in that scenario. Suncoast 49, North Shore 10. Back then it was a North Shore high school. And all I had to do was write that down and provide one sentence about the game. And I kept telling the editors, the sports editors, I know how to write. I know how to write. They're like, we don't need you to write. And what I did, I would still write a story about the game. I would keep the person on the phone for a long time, who scored, how many points, give me a little bit of the atmosphere, and I would write a story. And it was way too long. They never printed it. But what happened was one day the high school sports editor was out and couldn't cover a volleyball game. So they look around the newsroom and they're like, hey kid, go cover the high school volleyball game. Wow, I thought I had made it. I thought I had arrived. I was like, I get to go cover sports and they're gonna actually pay me to do it? That's crazy. So I went to cover the high school volleyball game. And that's where I learned one of my very first lessons that I keep with me to this very day. Go above and beyond. They didn't need me to write. They just needed me to answer the phone. But because I went above and beyond and started writing sentences and stories about the game, they were then able to see that I could write. Had I not done that, maybe the opportunity to go cover high school volleyball would have gone to someone else. So that's my start in terms of Riviera Beach, University of Florida, and then how I got my first job after college. It was really through my sister Gloria encouraging me to go into the Palm Beach Post. I had already gotten so many rejections. I thought I was going to be a television star Gloria. On TV. Yeah, Gloria was like, that's fantastic. So I owe this to Gloria for pushing me to go into the Palm Beach Post. And that's how I got my first job.
Wow, that is an important lesson, because so many times we go into a situation and we feel like well, if I say this or do this, I might overstep my boundaries. Because a lot of times people kind of say, well, this is your job. This is your title. This is not your title. But what you just said is almost where people say, do the job that you want to get, not the one that you have right now. So I know you kind of have to play it by ear, but it was a great risk that you did it, and look what happened. So from that point, how did you get into the news station?
So I was working in sports, covering tennis, high school sports, wearing shorts, a visor, going to write about, going to write about stories, and getting my byline in the paper. And my mom still has held on to the clippings of some of the newspaper articles with my byline. And I was like, this is fantastic. But I still had a drive to work at a television station. And the second lesson I learned about life and career, is that sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I got my job at WPTV West Palm Beach because I attended the University of Florida with 3 Gators who were working in that newsroom. I had already applied to that newsroom before I left Gainesville to come back to West Palm Beach. I had already applied, I had already been rejected. And they only took a look at me because Kelly Dunn, who anchors at WPTV, they were like, well, I know someone who's looking for a job from the University of Florida. And that's how I got a job, my first job in television. It was through the network of knowing people. So that's the second big lesson that I have in my life, is sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So you should make a connection and talk to people and relate to people, because you never know, they might be the person to help you get a job or get in the door or give a good reference about the work that you can do.
Would you give advice to say people, because I know a lot of times when we're, especially in these industries, you don't get the job you want immediately, you kind of get the job, the entry level position. Would you encourage people to walk into a door and tell people, listen, I know I am the midnight editor, but I want to be a producer because I can write? Should you just give out the cards and say, this is what listen, when the editor job is over or whatever, this is what I want to do. I want to be a producer. I want to produce. I want to be an executive. Is that good to walk in the door, letting them know that?
I think it is. There's a conversation I have with everyone who comes into my office. And I always say, are you in the job that you dreamed of? Because sometimes you do take a job to get into a business, but it's not the job you dreamed of. So when I ask that question, some people are startled, like, whoa, what is it? What do you mean? I was like, are you in the job? Are you living your dream job? I believe life is too short to be miserable at work. So are you living your dream job? And sometimes if they say, you know what, I really want to be the lead anchor on CBS Evening News. And I will say, well, in order to do that, here's some of the things that you need. Here are some of the jobs that you probably should take if that's your true journey, if that is where you need to be and what you need to be doing. Then I try to advise people on what to do, because I believe you should build up each job. Yes, you need a paycheck. Yes, you need to provide for your family. But if you have a dream to be or do X, you want to think about every job as helping you get the tools you need, the references or the relationships you need to eventually get to X. Everything should be purposeful. Not one job should be a waste of your time. You should learn something in every job. Not every job will be a promotion. There have been several jobs that I took that were not promotions, but they allowed me to learn another skill set. They allowed me to work on my skills a little bit outside of the spotlight. And then it allowed me to transition into the job that I wanted. So I really do believe that it's important. Are you living your dream job? And what are you doing to make it happen? And so, yes, I would recommend if people walk in and they're a midnight editor and they want to do something else, let the people around you know that. Otherwise, how can they help you on your journey if they don't know? We assume people
They don't know.
understand our journey. We can't assume. Let them know. Let them know what you want to do or be. And you'll find there will be people on that journey that will help you. There'll be people on that journey who will hinder you. And then you have to make a decision about how much time you want to allow them to interfere with what God has planned for you.
Now you talk about family a lot, and that's real important because a lot of times, especially women, we are sometimes attached to our family, you know, whether it's our children, our siblings, our husbands, our mothers, or whatever, but we have callings on our lives. And I want to know how hard, or if it was hard at all, for you to make that transition from Riviera Beach, where all your family was, to go to New York, which is a whole nother culture. That's like a culture shock for most people from up north to down south. Like, what was that decision making like for you?
You know, my first job outside of South Florida, after I worked at the Palm Beach Post and WPTV, it was in Pittsburgh. It was at WTAE in Pittsburgh. And I tell you, I went on an interview there in July. I was just thinking I was going on a trip, just a free trip to have people, you know, talk to me and say nice things, but I was not going to take the job. That was the third thing I learned. Do not interview for a job if you're not ready to take it. That's the other thing that's a really big rule of mine. Do not interview for a job if you don't want it. Don't waste your time and don't waste the time of the people who are interviewing you. So I would go to Pittsburgh and I leave the airport, you know, we land and I get in a car and I'm thinking I'm feeling real special. And if you've ever been to Pittsburgh, when you come out of the airport, you go through the Fort Pitt Tunnel. I'm a big sports fan. So when I come out of the Fort Pitt Tunnel, I see Three Rivers Stadium where the Pittsburgh Steelers played. I see where the Three Rivers in Ohio merge. And it is like the first big city that I've seen. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And at that moment in the back of that cab, I said, if they offer me this job, I'm taking it. It was just because there was Three Rivers Stadium. And it was July, and it was a beautiful day. I moved to Pittsburgh, and then I discovered after I started working there that there was snow in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm okay with cold weather. I'm okay with cold weather, but I don't know. They always say, no, the winter is not that bad. This winter is not that bad. They always say that, but I felt like that winter, my first winter ever dealing with snow, I felt like that was the worst winter on record because I'm from Florida. I was not prepared. I was not prepared to live there. And my mom gave me her Corsica, back then it was a Corsica, to drive in Pittsburgh. And I remember buying salt because they were saying that you have to salt the road. So I went to this home hardware store and purchased this big bag of salt. It was in a big brown bag. And I put it in the trunk of the car. I didn't know if I was supposed to salt the road or who was supposed to salt the road. But I thought I had to salt the driveway or whatever. I lived in an apartment complex. But I was terrified of snow. That's when I started to watch the Weather Channel year round. I fell in love with the Weather Channel because I would watch it year round because I was just, snow. How am I going to deal with the snow? How am I going to get, and at that point, I moved there in July. My sister Gloria went on with the 18-hour drive from Riviera Beach to Pittsburgh with me.
Wow.
You talk about family.
Gloria needs to have like a award or something.
You talk about
family. Gloria is amazing. Let me just tell you that, okay?
Shout out to Glo. I know she's probably not listening. She's probably working. But we went on this drive, we ended up. I picked an apartment that was on the top of a hill. It was a summer. I had no idea that come winter, I would drive my car and end up sliding sideways down that hill and landing in someone's front yard. So So I love Pittsburgh. It was a great experience. I don't love it in the winter.
So the adjustment to New York, because I'm like, well, I know New York has snow, so it must have been a great incentive for you to end up there. I mean, I just want to hear a little bit of it, because the transition is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Rockefeller Center. I mean, you're.
Yeah, I was working in Miami at NBC6 when I met the president of MSNBC, and he offered me the job on the spot. It was just a meet and greet, and he said, you know, we were supposed to have breakfast for about 30 minutes. 2.5 hours later, he said, you absolutely must come to New York. And I was like, I don't have a desire to be in New York. My family's here in South Florida. I love WTBJ and NBC6. I really don't have a desire to be in New York. I never had a desire to work and live in New York City. But he was very convincing, and I did take the job in New York. And the adjustment is something like, you know, I'm from Florida, so I'm a little bit of a slow walker, slow talker. And I remember one day walking outside 30 Rock on 6th Avenue. Literally, I'm in my slow walk, and the crowd is so thick. They're all going fast, and they literally, almost like they picked me up and just moved me along with the crowd. I could not get out of the crowd. And like 5 blocks later, I've missed where I was supposed to be, right? And here, you know, I was in corporate housing. My mom and my niece, Lashana, and at the time, the baby girl, Anaya, they came to New York with me when I first moved here. You know, they didn't want me to be alone in New York. So when I first moved here, the very first time I came, they were with me. They were my support crew with me in the transition to New York. And I remember the corporate housing where I was, you know, I had to walk into 30 Rock. And every day I said, my goodness, this is a long walk. I can't believe that people walk. This is such a long walk to work. And by the time I arrive, you know, my hair is a mess. I'm sweating. This is a long walk. I can't believe this is not cool. Now, years later, do you know how long that walk was?
5 minutes.
It was a 5-minute walk. It seems so long because in Florida we drive everywhere. We drive from the refrigerator to the couch. I mean, we drive everywhere. So living there, moving there for the first time, it felt like it was an incredibly long walk, but it literally was. I was in corporate housing on 51st at 7th Avenue. 30 Rock was at 50th and 6th Avenue. Literally, yeah, it was a long block, but it was literally a block over. But now, several years ago, when I was returning to New York, I was on a plane coming into JFK, and I looked out of the window and I said, man, it's so good to be back home. And it hit me that, wow, I've adjusted to New York really well to now consider it as part of the place, one of the places I consider home. Nothing obviously will outdo Riviera Beach in Palm Beach County, but I do consider myself being a part of the New York experience now, 10 years later.
You have dual residency. That's what I call it. Dual residency. You are a New Yorker Floridian. That's what you are now. So for people who are looking, we really didn't get into titles, and I know you're very humble, and you know you don't like to be called one of the most powerful women behind the scene, blah, blah, blah. I know. But I need for people to understand who you are and your title, because you actually, I think from when I met you, you had something on the card. I think it was something they added on your title as sports. So I want you to just give us your formal title, so we really know, and then I'll ask you a question, but I want to know the formal title, and because this is bragging rights for me. Like I'm sitting with a mogul, to me, a media mogul. So I need you to let them know.
I am still a mogul, but the actual title is the actual title is Senior Vice President NBC News, MSNBC. And yes, I do some work also for NBC Sports.
Okay, that's a big deal. Senior VP. So there's levels to this. So when someone comes in and says, you know what, Yvette, you've been doing a great job. Now you're going to be the VP. Like, what goes through your head? What's that process like? And the day in life of what you actually do.
I think in terms of, you know, I measure my day by like interactions, really, in terms of having an impact on the people that I touch. Yes, I start the day with a to-do list. I start today with a prayer that I felt I needed a different way to enter the morning. And so in October of last year, I wrote a prayer that I repeat every morning. And I did that specifically because I am a person that would initially just, once my feet hit the floor, start tackling my to-do list, start thinking of all the things that I need to get done. And I needed to center myself first and slow down and ease into the day. Doesn't mean that I'm not ready for the day, but I just needed first to start the day on my knees so I can withstand whatever is coming my way. So I had to purposely slow down and start my day in a way that helped me. So I start the day with a prayer. I try to get in 3 to 4 days of exercise with the personal trainer. I try to drink sometimes one, maybe 2 bottles of water before I have coffee. Coffee.
Okay.
I like the ritual of coffee. Do you?
Oh no, I bought a Keurig today. I know I'm behind, but I bought a Keurig. I love coffee. I am. I'm an addict. Hello, my name is Key London. I'm an addict. I really am. I am. But I know what coffee can do for you too.
You know, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think I love the act of drinking coffee. I love the process of drinking coffee. I love the way it smells in the morning. And I want everyone out there to calm down. Just calm down. I drink decaf coffee. Calm down. I know some of you who are like, how can you get through the day without caffeine, like fully loaded caffeine?
Right?
But I do decaf. Every now and then I'll switch up and have some caffeinated coffee. There's this company that I love that I order their coffee. Lola Savannah. Just Google it. If you're a coffee fan, they have a lot of flavors. They have a great breakfast blend. They also have a vanilla cinnamon pecan, which I love. And they have decaf brands, and they also have regular. Lola Savannah, I love that coffee. I love that coffee. I have like 6 bags of it in the freezer right now, just because I love that coffee. But that's how I start my day. They need to make you a spokesperson. And order it on Amazon or just order it out from the company direct. But that's how I start my day. I think you were asking me a question about how I start my day. And then I started talking about
listen,
coffee.
When you have a title, right, when you have, again, senior VP, okay, MSNBC, NBC, that's big. So I always kind of like to know how people start their day, what their rituals are, because we all have 24 hours in a day. You know, I think we forget that sometimes. And I think when we see people who are very, very successful, for many reasons, sometimes we tend to, well, they have this and they're doing this and maybe they do this. And a lot of times when I talk to people, it's really not that much different, but they dedicate their time to better themselves, educate themselves more, knock out goals. And that's what I'm getting at, because obviously you have a busy day. Yeah. But I want to I know you drink coffee.
I drink. Drink coffee. But, you know, I think I measure my day in terms of having a real impact on people. And I say that in the sense that I want to be present in a meeting. I want to be focused. I want to be engaged. I want to put my phone down and look at a person. I want to hear what they have to say and respond when needed, because I do believe relationships matter. And we are so transactional in our communications with each other. I want to be more of a transformer in the lives of people in terms of transformation. I want to always be authentic. So I used to measure my day very clearly in terms of everything that was on my to-do list. I have this meeting and I have a ton of meetings. I have this meeting, I have this project due, I need to review this deck, I have this interview, I have these recruiting things to do. But now I try to measure it by who have I touched today? Who have I interacted with? Did my conversation with the person mean something to them? Did it mean something to me? And so that's the course of my day. My day is, yes, it's about editorial content. It is about employee engagement. I spend a lot of time working on that. It is about building what we call NBC University, which is an internal and a way for us to internally train and teach and coach our employees. And NBC University is something that we do for external journalists to help them become better at the craft and eventually end up being hired, not always by NBC, but even if they end up working at ABC or wherever they might be, they've been touched and we've had an impact, and they go on to great careers. So that's how I spend my day. Talking, yes, dealing with the product, but I'm really focused on people. I believe if I do a good job with the people, they will take care of the product.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of that, I was looking at an interview and I thought this was so wonderful, and I want you to kind of share. Hopefully you remember what you said, but I'm sure you will come up with something else again. But you mentioned in one interview, you had these 3 points that you like for people, I guess, to focus on: performance, image, and exposure. And I think in this day and age, we really have to talk about that, especially because we have these things called the little phones in our hands, and we say a lot, we do a lot on social media, and we don't realize how much of an impact that can have on our careers or our brands. So can you please speak on how important the image, your exposure, and the performances of a person?
Yeah, it is something that I really, really believe so wholeheartedly in. And it is your formula. And dealing with Dr. Burke at Suncoast High School and knowing all the math formulas and everything, and pi was one of the ones we had to learn. But this pi is performance, image, and exposure. And if you think of a pie, a full pie, and you think of it making up 100% of something, so the pie equals 100%, many people will say that performance matters most, and that it's 70% of the pie, and that exposure is 10% of the pie, and then image is 20%. I actually believe very strongly that performance is 10% of the pie. You don't get extra credit for doing your job well. We hired you. So you don't get extra credit for that. Your employer is not giving you extra credit when you come in on time. They expect you to. They should not give you extra credit when you do your job well. You should do your job well. Maybe that sets you above and beyond your coworkers, but you don't get extra credit for that. So I think performance is 10%. That's the entry into the game. It's 10%. I think exposure, and this is not scientific, this is just what Yvette Miley thinks, and you can come up with your own formula, but this is what I believe. I think image is probably like 40%. Image is the thing that happens when you say, hey, Yvette, I want to talk to you. your image precedes this time we're together right now. And your image says to me, very serious, smart, engaging, will be a great conversation, will be something that I'd want to do. That's what your image said before we actually sat down together. So your image, and who shapes your image? Your coworkers, your friends. So if your boss calls you in the office and says, hey, I'm thinking of putting person X on this job, what do you think? Your coworker could say, never comes in on time. The last project, I had to do most of the work, right? So that shapes your image. And I think exposure makes up the rest of the pie. And exposure is, who is the decision maker in your job, at your school? Who makes a decision about if you get a promotion or not? Who is the one making the decision? You should know that person's name. If you happen to step and be in the parking lot walking in together, you should be able to say who you are, what you do for the company, and why you love your job. Not a long thing, but like 10 or 15 seconds. Boom, boom, boom. You should know that exposure matters. And the other part of that exposure is, it's not just the people with the title, it is the people who work next to you, who also could be the boss whisperers, right? You could be telling the story. So what are you doing with the boss whisperers? And you know who they are in your office or in your work environment. You know who has the boss's ear. You totally know it. And so I do believe in performance, image, and exposure. The hurdle that we must recognize that is real for people of color, it is real, that I believe very strongly that I have to do my job extremely well. Extremely well. I believe what my mom told me. I believe it to this very day. Is it fair? Is it reality? Absolutely. So I could sit on the sidelines waiting on the world to be fair to me, or I could go and work really hard to get what I believe God has set out for me. I could sit on the sidelines and wait for the world to be fair. It is not going to be. It will not be. And so it requires a lot. That's why I need to have that prayer in the morning, because it requires a lot. And I think that every day, and I appreciate you and Jerome and others and my family and everyone, but I don't own the title of Senior Vice President. I'm renting it. And I know that. I am renting it. It belongs to the company. And when they decide that they want someone else to have that title, they will decide it. And there will be absolutely nothing that I could do to change their mind. It doesn't matter that about my performance, my image, or my exposure. But guess what? From the time I start that job to the time I end it, what can I control? Guess what I can control? My character, my integrity, my values. That's not for rent. That's owned by me. So I love my job. I love that I've been so blessed to have this girl from Riviera Beach, a girl who felt like was not the top of the first of the class of anything, because I just did not have the ambition to be first in my class of anything. I just wanted to graduate so I can go play softball or do my homework so I can go outside and play. So I am truly blessed. I am so blessed. And we all are blessed. And that's what's so wonderful about the world and the life we live. There is enough blessing to go around. I don't have to fight for yours. I don't have to fight you for that blessing that's in front of you. That's yours. That's yours. I got blessings. But we can, and that's why family is so important. to have a network of family and friends that can be your safe space, that can help you keep your feet on the ground and understand that you're doing this title. You're not that special. Get up and clean up after yourself, take your trash out, do whatever your mom told you to do. Don't go to bed with the dishes dirty in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of what I kind of.
Mm-hmm. I want to make sure, because I don't want to get hate mail, and you got some questions on on the live, and they'll ask me, they'll say, why did you ask my question? So let me just, I'm going to go back, but Shalandra Warren has a question. She said, what is the media's role, responsibility in educating people or raising awareness? Is there a role in the media for raising awareness?
I think there is a role in raising awareness and educating people. I do believe that media, when responsibly handled, can be a very powerful tool. And I think that we should needle and provoke people to feel, to think, and in some cases to act. So I do believe the media should play a role in raising awareness. And we have our hits and misses. And some things we do well and some things we will not do well. But I do think the media could play a role and should play a role in raising awareness. So thank you so much for the question.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I answer that. Now, I know you don't talk about this a lot, but when I was doing my research, you're an Emmy Award winner. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
That's that's an award that I want one day. I'm gonna put that out in the atmosphere. Award winner.
Yeah, just put it here.
But I know you're a firm believer of that, putting things out in the atmosphere. But how was that when you got that award? Because that's kind of like the Oscars for actors. What was that feeling like when they heard your name being called?
I'm a 5-time Emmy winner, and
Woo!
as in television and in life, it is not one person; it is a team. So I was part of a really great team. And so over the years, I've been able to be recognized along with the team on some incredible award-winning reporting. And so hearing your name, it's still every now and then a little bit of a pinch me moment, right? Like it is still, and I hope that once you start winning Emmys and multiple Emmys, I hope that the first Emmy you win, that you still get that great feeling when you are on your 10th Emmy. You will have that. You will keep that. And I think that's what keeps you sharp. Is still not letting that get old, right? Who would say, oh, another Emmy, jeez, right? You know, you don't let that get old. And I think you will. There are Emmys in your future.
Thank you. Now you've met so many people, so many celebrities. I want to know who was your person that you were like, oh my gosh, I got to get an autograph. Do you have a person like that who you just was like starstruck by?
Well, I do try to not bother celebrities in that way, but I will tell you that I was doing something in 30 Rock and Fantasia was walking down the hall.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm going to violate every rule of the company right now. And she's like, what rule is that? I was like, well, we're really not supposed to, harass, celebrities coming into the building. But I said, I'm a big fan. Do you mind if we take a photograph? And I took a photograph with Fantasia. Don't tell me, job. I took a photograph with Fantasia. And the first thing I did was like send it to my family. It's like, look who's in the building. And she was so gracious. to take the time to take a photo. I'm a big Food Network fan. Guy Fieri was on one of the shows, so I had an opportunity to meet him. I am a big sports fan, so I got the opportunity to meet Teresa Witherspoon, who used to play for the WNBA. So I'm a little bit of a geek around certain things, and Tim Tebow, had an opportunity to meet Tim Tebow when he was at the University of Florida. So that was really special in terms of just being a Florida Gator. So those are some of the special. Harry Belafonte, literally just having a conversation with him, it just felt like you could sit there and learn and just listen and learn and take it all in. It was just a conversation that didn't need to end. I met Tyrese once, and ever since Baby Boy.
I know you met a lot of people. I just had to ask. It's always that.
I had a crush on him because in the movie Baby Boy, his girlfriend's name was Yvette. So every time he was saying Yvette, I was like, yes.
Okay.
Those are some of the people that I've had an opportunity to meet. I don't know them personally, obviously, but those are some of the people that I've had an opportunity to meet.
So you hear this thing now, we hear in the news, the new terminology, fake news. And as I'm going to school for mass communication and journalism, we talk a lot about that. I would say, I'm not trying to say that news now is discredited, because we have people like yourself and thousands of others who work hard to get news that's accurate. But when you hear that, and then you have people who maybe don't know how news really works, they start not to believe it, or they start to feel like news is not worthy anymore. Do you have, I guess, advice for people to find out what is actual news, what is the real news, and to have a discernment between real news and fake news, or is that just a term that's really kind of out there, that's not real?
There was I wish I had the link for you so you could share with people who are listening, but there's a study that talks about which viewers of which networks are really educated and know when they're being told something that's not true. So there's a study out there about that's really worth reviewing. I don't obviously don't have the link here, but it came out last week, so it's really worth reviewing. I think for the most part, people distrust everything that's said. They distrust everything they read, newspaper. They distrust what they watch on television. They distrust, they have little trust for what they see in the feeds on Facebook. And I think in the age of information, I think people have little value in the actual institution of journalism and the hard work that it does require, and the standards and legal process that we go through, the rigorous process. So I think that people are generally skeptical anyway. I think there has always been, not just in the current time, but there has always been concern about what people are reporting. But journalists provide a very, very real role. Journalists can take a local story and escalate it to a national level by raising awareness. Local journalists, though, are really on the ground in all these communities, and they are incredibly valuable. It's incredibly important to know and watch your local news. It's incredibly important to read the newspaper. It is incredibly important to vary your sources of information. But it takes local journalists to report on and uncover something and follow through on it before it reaches sometimes the national level. And so it's critically important. And you can't really battle fake news, the idea or the accusation of fake news. You can only do your job and have a thick skin about it. You know, I've been in the newsroom all my life, and it is a worthy profession. There are noble people doing it, and journalists are often painted with the same brush. Just as people might say, oh, well, people of color are this, and people of color are that. And we know that in and of itself is not true, but yet we then transfer that broad, biased opinion on a group of people, just as we wouldn't want it on our children or on a person who looks a certain way, right? We wouldn't do that, but we say, oh, it's all fake news. It's not. And how to discern that? I think, you know, the thing that you always should do is vary your sources, read your sources, understand something that before you link, like, or retweet or share, that what's the source of the information? Where did it come from? I may not go right to air with what TMZ says, but I go and figure out if what TMZ is reporting is true, right? You know, there's a way to do it, but I think that the burden of being a journalist is that we're always going to be accused of fake news, but we still have to forge ahead. You still have to do your job. And I don't think that's going to change. I think people feel like they're as much of a journalist as the people who went to college for it because they have a camera or they have a Facebook page or they have an Instagram. So I don't think that's ever going to change. I think we're always going to be challenged in that way. It just means with the spotlight, I always say, and the people I work with, they don't like when I say this. If the spotlight is on you, what are you supposed to do? Shine. So the spotlight is on us. So let's shine. They don't give out Emmys for people who are getting it wrong, right? So, or Peabodys, as we just been nominated for a Peabody, right? So there are going to be people who say that they don't trust it, but our ratings have never been higher. Even as people say that, people are watching. So, you know, for you and your pursuit and the career that you're pursuing in front of you and the things that you're doing right now, this is journalism, talking to people, hearing their stories. You are already doing what you are in school to learn. You are already doing it. You are head and shoulders above the people you're in school with because you're actually doing it. You actually have a platform. So you talk about the people of power and you interviewing people of power, you are a person of power. Let's never forget that. You are a person of power because you have this platform and you use it to inform, engage, to needle and provoke people to think, to feel, and to act. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. You're like my niece, but even though you're not my niece, I'm that proud of what you do.
I can hear. I thank you. I thank you. I want to, because I know we have 5 more minutes, but I want to ask you something real quick. What would you like to see, if it could be your world, what would you like to see more in media? Like, what do you think that's missing, or just we need a little bit more of it? I know not drama and murder, but
I don't know that there's anything missing. I just think that sometimes I wish, I love being on the national level, but I miss local as well. I miss the immediacy of being in a community and knowing that thing that I'm reporting on at 4:30 or 5 or 5:30 or 6 o'clock, that I live in that community. I think sometimes understanding that there's a real impact to what we do and say being on a national level, sometimes you know it intellectually, but I think we need to feel it more. We need to feel that people are concerned about the unemployment rate, that people are concerned about health and safety. People are concerned about the disproportionate impact on communities of color. And I think we need to feel it more. So it's not a specific answer to the question, other than sometimes on a national level, we talk a lot to the experts. And I get why we do that, but I think we also need to hear more about the people, from the people impacted by the things that we are experiencing. So I think we need to do more of that. And luckily, I'm in a position to help influence that. So I'm never going to be satisfied. I never say, wow, this is the best job we've done, and this is it, and we don't need to go above this level. I'm always driving and pushing people. If you're good today, be better tomorrow. Even though I feel like we do a little bit of the people, I want more of it. I want more. I'm always that boss who's always asking for more, but I'm also that boss who's going to help you figure out how to achieve it, because your success is my success. And there's no way that I want you to fail. Absolutely not. If you have a boss who wants you to fail, they really shouldn't be your boss.
So I wanted you to know that you are a lifetime member of the People of Power. I remember one time you joked, and I thought you were just joking when you said, oh, one day I would be, and I'm like, oh, she is not going to sit down with me. She's not going to do it. But I am so happy that I did get the opportunity to actually pick the brain. And I'm hoping that I did. I know some of the people I may not have gotten to, and I do apologize, but I know we probably would be on here for like 2 hours picking your brain, because a lot of times people are just so intrigued by you, your success. You're still relevant. You keep yourself relevant, which I think people don't realize how hard that is, because media is so changeable. You know, one day, like you said, you have a title, and the next day you don't, but you still are doing amazing. And I think that's why people always highlight you so much, because you're still in the game. I mean, I could see you probably doing what you're doing at least another 15 to 20 years. I'm not sure if that's your plan, but you still have a passion for it.
I do have a passion, but I don't know about 15 to 20 years. I hope I'm in Beach County.
Relaxing. So I want you to do this. I think we, for the most part, we covered, well, I did cover everything. Hopefully I answered some of the questions. And I always have to tell people some questions I can ask or will ask, and some I won't, just because I try to respect people's titles and certain things they can't ask and certain things they can't answer. So I want to make sure that I'm always respectful to my guests, but I need you to leave with a superpower. I always tell people that you're a powerful person. Anyone who's on the People of Power, I consider them powerful. So if you could leave any superpower, and that's basically what you feel people need right now. I need you to give away a superpower to the audience. Just think about something that they could use right now as a power.
As a power?
Mm-hmm. You already said something, but I want you to think of something again. I call it a superpower. Like you have superpowers. You might not think you do, but you do. You have the power of educating people, enlightening people. So I want you to give away a power so you think people need right now. Mm-hmm.
The power of hope. The power of hope.
People always take a while and then they come up with the best answers.
If you think about how long can a man live without water, without food, without air?
Mm.
How long can a man live without hope? I don't think a man can live without hope. So you need to keep hope. You need to have hope that this will end. You need to have hope that you'll get through this. You need to have hope that a better day is coming. Hope is your
That's
superpower.
perfect, especially what we're doing right now, because we're living in these times where I'm sure you've never probably guessed that you would be doing Zoom videos, people working from home. The news has actually changed. We have people, you know, the talk shows, you see all these women now in their homes, but we're working, we're doing it. We're making it happen. Thank God to technology, but who thought it would have been like this, where you're in your living room conducting interviews? I mean, so I get it. Hope is something that we definitely need, but the good thing is we will push through this.
Yes.
We will push through this, and I hope we do at least. I hope we end up getting, you know, making it out of this, because this is new. I don't know if you've ever experienced this.
We will. We will.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for joining me on the People of Power, and you will probably hear a lot from your family and friends. I hope you. We have a. Yeah, we all need that superpower. Calinthia Dillard says we all need that superpower. So I know you're not on Facebook as much, but at least when you chime in, you'll be able to see some of the responses that we have for you this evening. So I want to thank you again. I know you're busy, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.